So, episode 5 of JoJo wrapped up our little Nijimura saga with these brothers, and we see now that at the beginning of the episode, it picked off from last week where we have Josuke defeating, what's his name? Keicho, there we go. And we see that while he was like down and out, Josuke actually wanted to get out, but then we have Koichi who actually wanted to like find that bow and arrow, because obviously if they leave that with them, then that right there would be a bad thing, because obviously there's no way Josuke would like kill like that. So there was definitely, a very high chance that when he got back up, he would like go around and make more stand use, or at least try to, because Koichi had a good point where he said how he got kind of lucky because Josuke didn't actually heal this wound, but of course, someone who did not have someone like Josuke around them, they can like die from that. So it made perfect sense as to why he had wanted to go around and look for the bow and arrow. And so we see that the main reason why Josuke had wanted to leave is because he took a lot of damage in that fight. So obviously now he's like definitely hurting, but we see how Koichi was like even willing enough to actually go there on his own. And so we see as to while he was, and we see now as to him as exploring the house, there was like only one more floor that was left, because that right there led to the attic. But we see how Josuke was like, he is definitely a lot more braver than he thought, or at least he was like acting kind of tough. But we see how Josuke had like caught up to him, and we see now that when they reached the attic, they could see like the bow and arrow that was like hanging on the wall, but we see now that they were hearing like these strange sounds, and that right there definitely what they're coming from, like any human, because it sounded like some kind of animal was like kind of like growling in a sense. But we see that when they had opened the door just a little bit more, like they saw something like quickly move, and so now they were like definitely on high alert. And that's when Josuke here got the idea as to Koichi, kicking the door open on the count of 3, and that way he will like run in, grab the bow and arrow, and destroy it. And so we see that when they put that plan into action, when Koichi had him to kick the door, we see now that this green, disgusting looking hand actually grabbed his leg. And that right there wasn't a good sign, but we see how Josuke was quickly able to figure out how that right there wasn't a stand, but that right there was a real hand. But we see now that when he punched it with Crazy Diamond, that right there actually, that one punch actually had broke off that hand, and that right there was kind of messed up. But we see now that the creature, saw the color, because that right there is definitely, that right there wasn't a human anymore. We see now how it quickly got up, and we see it now running a corner. But then we see now that when his hand was like, but we see now that even though it had lost his hand, it grew back rather quickly. And not only that, the hand that was like blown off, so to say, he actually went back and grabbed it, ran back into his corner, and was like eating it. And that right there was like kind of nasty. And throughout all of this, because we see like this green, this green goop, on Koichi, he has said like bless so many times. I don't know why, but every time he said that, I was like dying laughing, because even though, after all of this, he was still acting, so disgusted. I don't know why. I found that, so freaking hilarious. And so we see that, that's the name, that Keicho, he was now back up, and we see now how we told Josuke and Koichi how they found something that they were not supposed to see. And so we learned now how this right here was their father, and we learned how we had, how we actually became like this. And so going back now 11 years ago, we learned that when Okuyasu was 4, and we have a brother at 7, their mother died of an illness, and then we have their father who who had this business that right there went under, and then we see now how this stress, and we see now that how this stress got to him so much, he actually started hitting his kids. So that right there was like that right there was a triple whammy, for a crappy life for them. And so we see now that eventually their father, he actually sold like his soul to Dio, and that right there is like it's how he had like turned life around by like getting money and jewels and like all the other stuff. So that right there, it pretty much how he like able to sustain himself by doing that. But one day where we have Keicho coming home from school, I believe we said it was like 2 p.m. We see now that when he went home, we have Okuyasu, crying, and we see now that when they went to go check on their father, we see how like he was like in pain. Like we could already see like the festers popping up of his skin, and we even see his face becoming deformed. And so right now he definitely knew like what was going on, because he knew that the only reason why this would happen, why the flesh bud would actually go berserk like this, is because Dio was dead. And we see now that a year later, like what he looks like now, that right there was the end result. And we also learn how Keicho wasn't looking for a stand that can like heal his father, but it was one that can actually kill him, because his father became one with that cell bud, and that right there kind of like made him immortal, because no matter what you would do to him, he would like always come back from that. And that right there was like kind of crazy. And the fact now that we see Keicho, like kind of like breaking down like that, because like there were a few scenes where we have him crying. That right there, like kind of shows you like that right there shows you how much he at least cared for him, because he wanted to give his father at least, a proper death, because there's no way in the world someone can like live like that. And we also see now how his father had this habit of like digging in this very old trunk, and we see him now, like messing with like scraps of paper, and we see now how that right there kind of drove, Keicho, kind of crazy, and we see him now like beat his father up, but at the same time he was healing. So eventually we have Josuke, who notices like what he was doing, and once more where we have Keicho about to actually hit him, we have Josuke, like charging in, and this time he actually attacks that trunk, but he was like mainly fixing up those paper scraps, so we could finally see, like what in the world was he doing digging in that chest storage trunk, for all that time. And so eventually, we actually see how it was a picture of when Okuyasu, Keicho, and when the father was normal, and when their mother was alive. And that right there just brought so many feelings, to him, that this like that their father couldn't help but like start breaking down and crying, because even though now he even though now he looks like this, he still has those like memories, like deep inside of him. And so now, now Josuke was like, if you give up on trying to kill him, I don't mind healing him. And that right there would have been freaking great. And we even have Okuyasu, coming back, trying to plead with his brother, because that right there would be great news, because he was like, even if their dad can't go back to normal, then at least maybe his mind can, and that right there will like bring back all these memories. But at the same time, Keicho, for some reason, he still did not want to give up the bow and arrow, and we even see now that when Okuyasu had like grab onto it, we see a brother going off at him, talking about how he did not even see how Keicho was going off, saying how he does not see Okuyasu as his little brother anymore, saying that like he could like even kill him. But then we have Josuke picking up on someone that was like watching them, and we see now that when he asked him if they have any other family besides them three, that right there definitely raised a red flag. And then out this outlet, we see a stand, and this stand was like actually going to kill Okuyasu, but then we have a brother protecting him by punching him out the way. But at the same time, we have this stand punching his brother, like making a hole through his body. And so we learn now how this stand is red hot chili pepper, and apparently this stand used to be weak, but then the user figured out how to become stronger, and that's how he was able to take out Keicho like that, because now he actually wants the bow and arrow for himself, for like his own purposes. And so now we have our new villain, now entering the fray. And so eventually now we have this stand dragging his brother, into this outlet, and we see now how even though his brother was like telling him how we always held him back, he was still, protecting him this time. So that right there, was like very interesting to see how we have this one brother, like pretty much bad mouthing, trying to like bring him down so much, but at the same time, he did the ultimate act of justice by sacrificing himself so that way his brother can live. But eventually, where we have that stand and his brother, oh my god, where we have that stand and his brother disappearing, there we go. We have Josuke acting quickly because he saw the user, like watching them. So obviously he knew where he was. But this user, he moved so freaking fast. He was like already gone in that short amount of time. And so now we have Okuyasu and Koichi. Both of them have like joined him on the roof, and then finally we see a brother like on these wires. And we see now how he was obviously dead. His body was like burnt to the point where we saw smoke coming off the body. And so now his brother was now dead. And of course we still have a father in that little like monstrous form, because we have no idea whether or not Josuke did heal him or try to, because that right there, what was shown in the episode. So we have no idea what the fate of the father, would be. But all we saw him doing was all we saw their father doing was just staring at that picture. But now, going back to our new villain, Red Hot, we actually have the user contacting Jotaro, because he was like trying to get Jotaro to leave the city. But of course, there was no way that was ever going to happen. And we even see how the user kind of wrapped himself out, because he was saying how he was like fed up with his annoying life of all these like exams and like trying to get a job, because obviously the only one who would complain about that is a student. And that right there kind of like made him mad, where we have Jotaro question him, but at the same time he was showing off his power a bit by like blowing up the phone and also messing up part of that room. And so now Jotaro, he definitely wasn't worried, but of course now he's definitely on guard. And so we see that after burying his brother, Okuyasu has turned over a new leaf, because we see now that he actually went to Josuke's home, to like pick him up, so that way they can walk to school together. And so now that right there is the beginning of their friendship. So now Okuyasu, he has gone from like villain to like main character now. And so that right there will be definitely nice, because his stay in the hand to me is definitely very impressive. And so at the end now, obviously now we already know that the saga of Red Hot will now begin, and we even see how the next episode, that right there is actually going to focus on Koichi. So hopefully we will see a stand in the anime, fairly soon. But overall, this episode right here was definitely enjoyable. I liked it a lot. We now have a new stand villain, Red Hot Chilli Pepper, and this stand right here seems very powerful, because he killed Keijo with pretty much no problem whatsoever. But at the same time, that right there was kind of like that. Oh my god. I'm trying to say that right there was like kind of a sneak attack because he was trying to kill Okuyasu first. But regardless, overall, this stand right here should be quite a treat because we even see it, going to Jotaro. And that right there is something that, Keicho didn't do. But as always, let me know what you guys thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Could it helps me out? And as always, you guys take it easy. I will see you all next time.